Hi, and welcome again to OCDTV. I am your host, Steve Day. I don't have elaborate intros really worked out that well today because I didn't think about it. But I do have some information. We don't have any camera operators tonight, so get used to 3 shots, because that's what you're going to see. So try to imagine that we're actually being directed by Roger Corman. And that would, you know, just get used to the set, get used to the shots, try to pay attention to how influential he was on guys like James Cameron. Anyway, tonight we'll be tackling another list, or 2 lists. Is it 1 list, or is it 2 lists?
2 lists.
Okay, it's 2 lists. Because we're nerds and we like making lists.
That's right.
That's right. Tonight, it is the best and worst of comic book superhero adaptations. With me tonight, on my panel to discuss this extremely important topic, my beloved co-worker, who helped me luck my way into a cushy job I really don't deserve, Keith Martin. Keith.
Oh, sorry, I was updating my fantasy football team.
Yes.
Hi, everybody.
Fantasy football. Dungeons and Dragons for the kids who used to beat up the kids who play Dungeons and Dragons. With me also tonight, Brian Connors, who describes himself as a comic books newbie, although his vast knowledge of all things nerdy sort of makes me think he's not a newbie about anything. I mean, you might have absorbed this all through pop cultural osmosis. Or at least part of it.
Osmosis is good.
I mean, we were just osmosis.
It's better than better than cultural reverse osmosis.
And he uses a bunch of 10-cent words, and I think he's, disrespecting me, but
I think those were $7 words.
probably.
Inflation adjusted.
Yeah, adjusted for
Anyway.
inflation.
And then finally, joining us for the first time, at the end of the table, we've just met him tonight. We had to bring in an expert about comic books, so we brought in a guy whose dream it is to own a comic book store. And in fact, this was so important, we actually brought in somebody from another TV channel.
It's true.
Lower Cape TV's own Andrew Eaton.
That's me. You can hold the applause.
We don't have an audience. We should have an audience.
We should have an audience.
We should
No, we
what
have
should
our
do?
one viewer.
Well, I don't know. I think
We have a viewer. He's out there somewhere.
I think Jamie should put in cheers and laughter. Like we should just
Laugh track.
We need a laugh.
Then someone would actually laugh at your jokes.
OCDTV, filmed before a live studio audience.
My kid thinks I'm hilarious. I don't know what you're talking about.
Your kid thinks everything is hilarious.
That was terrible. Anyway, so we're going to start with the best list because that's least interesting to talk about. I think nobody goes on the internet or at a gaming store or a comic book store to angrily shout how much they liked something.
Yeah, no one starts a flame war over something they like.
Exactly. No, there seems to be a lack of, proper justice given to some things.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you get somebody who doesn't like something that is generally agreed upon,
Yeah.
that everybody
Well, then
likes.
they're just a contrarian.
Well, maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's possible. No. I mean, there are detractors to all films.
True.
I mean, there are very few films on Rotten Tomatoes that have a 100%.
Right, but
rating.
I'm just saying, sometimes, we're just contrarians by nature.
I mean, most of the movies on our list have like an 80% or above, though.
Right.
So, and part of that criticism might just be, oh my God, there's too many superhero movies. Why are there so many superhero movies?
Right.
To which I say, shut up, you grumpy critic. Stop ruining my superhero movies. Anyway, so.
Well, you know my theory on critics anyway.
Well, except that they're all like nerdy guys our age now, so they kind of. I'm just saying, their opinions tend to be sort of like gelling with our perspectives now.
It's starting to catch up.
It's not the grumpy baby boomers who, bitched about the Matrix looking like every 14-year-old's dream of the future.
Right.
Because,
Still, after all is said and done, you still have to be doing something right in order to be like Marvel and have what's basically the world's most expensive in history repertory company.
What they're doing consistently is making films that are crowd pleasers and good with critics, which is really hard to do.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, crowd pleaser.
And laughing all the way to the bank.
oh yeah.
Yes, but the general public, the non-comic book reading crowd, also seems to really enjoy most of these movies.
They get into
that's the whole point. They make
Yeah.
lots and lots of money.
Which is why the new Star Wars trilogy is going to rake in.
Oh yeah, no, Star Wars can't not make money.
It's going to make $1 bajillion.
It could be.
It's going to set every record
First of all, the bar isn't that high right now.
Especially for Star Wars movies.
I mean, they got nowhere to go but up.
Well, I mean, the prequel has its defenders, but I mean, let's be honest. The Clone Wars cartoon movie is my understanding is it apparently even managed to lowball the holiday special.
Well, the dialogue was better written. Anyway, enough
comics,
about Star
not
Wars.
Star Wars.
We have a list.
Enough about space operas. Let's get to number 5 on our best list, Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, I was a little surprised this film made it to the list, although it was on my own personal list.
It was on my list too. I'm surprised it's so low.
Well, here's the thing. You know, the bloom hasn't really come off the rose yet. I mean, nobody expected it to be as good as it was. I mean, when it was announced, we were all like, really? Not Doctor Strange?
Yeah.
Not, I mean, who? Star-Lord?
I just read something today, actually, that Robert Downey Jr. said Guardians of the Galaxy is the best Marvel movie.
And again, I mean, and we're not talking about a movie that
coming from a narcissist. That's
He wasn't even in it.
and we're talking about a film. We're talking about a film that, you know, essentially it's. I mean, there's nothing new about it. Everybody says, "Oh, they're taking this huge risk." Well, because it was an unknown property, but it's just another ragtag band of misfits that have to overcome their differences to stop a one-dimensional supervillain with a mega weapon. It just happened to be really, really funny and well executed.
Yeah. Right.
well, right.
I really, really loved it.
Well,
And I have to say that I haven't seen this movie yet.
Where have you been? Under a rock?
I don't have a lot of time.
On the moon?
Wait, do you have children?
I do, a 3.5-year-old.
Oh, okay.
So I can't even bring him to see it.
Yeah, mine are older. So.
Yeah, no.
So, but from what I have heard, I never read a single Guardians comic book. In fact, I had no idea.
Congratulations.
I had
Welcome
no
to
idea. Everybody, I know.
99.9% of
I don't
everyone
think I've
else.
ever
But I
read a
had
Guardians
never
of the
even
Galaxy
heard
comic
of
either.
the comic
Yeah.
series before they released the teaser trailers.
Right.
So I think that's where the surprise is coming from. It's this relative unknown Marvel comic that was a huge success. Plus, the comics never took themselves very seriously, from my understanding.
No, probably not.
And the movie most certainly doesn't.
No, and that's it.
I think that's the beauty of it.
if anything, I suppose that makes the Guardians of the Galaxy Marvel's equivalent to Teen Titans. Kind of, you know, third string that turns into a major breakout property.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
now, was
no, it's
Teen
kinda-
Titans a comic before it was the
Yes, oh, yeah,
cartoon?
yeah,
It
yeah.
was.
Oh, yeah.
It was actually, as a
Shows
matter of
what I
fact,
know.
actually, it was DC's answer to something Marvel had already done.
The Young Avengers.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, not the point. So we can all agree that Guardians of the Galaxy was great, but how it's gonna stand the test of time is really what I want to see.
That will be
Right.
interesting. Yes.
That's because we'll see about that. So anyway, moving on.
Yes.
Number 4, the original Superman, starring Christopher Reeve,
Excellent.
which I'm surprised this isn't higher on the list.
I didn't even put it on my top 5.
Okay.
I am a DC fan from when I was a wee lad. So, but mostly Batman, admittedly. I never saw the appeal of Superman. He's an alien. He's not a Superman.
He's alien Jesus.
Right.
Who punches things instead of dying for your sins.
Yeah. Yes. But I don't get me wrong. I enjoyed the movie, and it would be in my top 10. But I wouldn't put it in my top 5.
Well, I guess my position is that it was the first,
Yeah.
live-action superhero movie as intended for entertainment for everyone, as opposed to something aimed at, either something campy like the Batman TV series,
Right.
or something aimed directly at a youth market.
But now,
It made
Batman
this current
the
era
movie,
possible.
the
It-
60s movie, that is a comic book.
No, it is,
movie
it is,
based on
it
a comic
is.
book. I would place that higher than Superman.
Well, because given at the time, it was the most accurate adaptation of a comic book ever, because this was all
Exactly.
post-code, but they were playing all that for camp value for the most part, and I think
that's how the original comics went. I mean, that's my.
Well, post-code, yeah. I mean, Batman was pretty dark pre-code.
Batman got dark in the 70s.
No, prior to the comics code. I don't want to get bogged down in this, but during the 30s and 40s, like when comics were really getting started,
Right.
Prior to Seduction of the Innocent and the adoption of the comics code, there was a lot of what might have been considered at the time objectionable content. Batman would even use a gun and shoot people.
Yes, this is
in some of those stories. And it was actually, there were some really sort of dark noir stories and stuff like that. Like nothing really, really heavy. It was just sort of like, there were no rules or censorship, so they kind of did whatever they want. But the post-code era gave rise to directly targeting a youth market. And that's what DC ended up doing, which is why they've been playing second fiddle to Marvel since the 60s, because Marvel thought, oh, you know what, there's an untapped market of teenagers.
Yeah.
And so they came up with superheroes with problems. And that's where we got the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man.
As it is, it's almost impossible to, look at Batman after Tim Burton and compare him to Adam West. It's a completely different character.
Right, yeah. No, and that's...
Oh, we were talking about Superman. Let's talk about Superman.
Well, I think again, I don't want to spend too much time on the best list because we have much more fun things to say, but I think it's on here because of how influential it was.
I will say my personal opinion, Christopher Reeve, icon, although for Lois Lane, I think I'd rather have Terry Hatcher.
Yeah.
Oh,
definitely. No. Well, Margot Kidder is not pretty.
Yeah, she's not very good looking.
Anyway, moving on. Number 3, we have a tie.
Oh, someone's kissing their sister.
We have a tie between Iron Man and The Dark Knight. Now, here's the thing about Iron Man. Like, he was kind of a third-string superhero until the movie.
Right.
And I remember people talking, because I was working at a Blockbuster at the time, and people saying, I can't really see Robert Downey Jr. in this role as a superhero. I don't get it. Who's this character? And it was sort of like, meanwhile, comics fans were losing their minds. Like, comic fans were like, no, he's perfect. He has substance abuse problems. He's a womanizing playboy.
He is Tony Stark.
He at least used to be. I don't know that he is anymore.
Well, no, he's clean now. Has children and whatever. But I mean, but I think, but that was the movie. We all went to see that and said, holy cow, that was perfect. Exactly what I wanted out of a superhero movie as a comic books fan.
Yes.
And so that set the mold for the rest of the Marvel live action universe.
Agreed. But to put it with The Dark Knight.
Dark Knight.
Okay. Let me get. No, I have something to say about The Dark Knight. See, Nolan's Batman really plays like a one-off DC limited series. Yeah. That said, I thought Anne Hathaway did a pretty good job.
No.
Though
this isn't
I'm
The Dark Knight
required.
Rises.
I understand that. I'm just saying the series.
Right.
I just plug in a joke somebody else wrote, and you're interrupting me.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. No, I thought she did a pretty good job, but I have to hate her because internet.
I tend to think of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight series as basically the story of Patrick Batman.
Okay, here's my problem with The Dark Knight. I was bored. I was really, really bored.
I'm not a big fan of.
But we're not here to make fun of it.
What's his name?
Christian Bale.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
I
wasn't sure if we were still talking about the Nolan Batman.
I was going to let him stumble there for a minute.
Yeah, no. I blanked on Christian Bale because I like him a lot, but
he's an excellent actor.
But the one thing I don't like is his Batman voice, and I
knew someone was going to bring up the Batman voice. All right,
go
ahead.
It's hard for me to even get past it. It's like trying to watch in another Sacred Cow. A lot of people like True Blood. I tried to watch one episode of True. As soon as he says that, I die. I was like, all right, click. I can't listen to this. Click.
Okay.
But,
you missed. Is this because it's a British actor playing an American?
Because
both examples, it's a British actor playing an American.
Yes, I understand that part.
Is that your reasoning behind it? Because here's my reasoning why.
It's the voice.
No,
I mean,
the voice
Christian Bale
is a necessity, though.
Gentlemen.
But the voice is a necessity.
I understand.
Okay, I admit in The Dark Knight it was worse than Batman Begins.
Some people can't get past it.
Okay.
Let's talk. But let's talk about why it was successful because
Heath Ledger's Joker.
Yes, but no, it clearly struck a chord with audiences. It's well acted, it's well directed, it's well written. And it plays
better than Batman Begins.
I disagree, but the whole point was it takes that sort of like Dark Knight concept introduced to us by Frank Miller and put it on screen in a way that was really consistent with fan expectations.
Okay.
And so that's why, and for that reason, Iron Man is also on for the same reason. It was sort of like this was consistent with what we expected. So we're not going to get too bogged down arguing about
one last thing about both of those movies. It really brought comic book movies to the mainstream.
Yes.
To non-comic book readers, people who probably had never even heard of Iron Man.
But I think
Right.
Iron Man more so than Dark
definitely.
Knight in the sense because we've already had so many Batman movies.
Right.
that
Everyone
people
knows
are calling it
Batman.
Batman. It's
Everyone
Batman.
knows
Now
Superman.
someone's like, oh wow, this comic book movie thing's kind of cool. Look at this, it's Iron Man.
Yeah. Right.
I will say though, Heath Ledger's Joker is
He's good.
definitely. Let's be honest. There's 3 Jokers: Jack Nicholson, Mark Hamill, and Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger definitely seems to capture. I think.
I like Nicholson's Joker better than Ledger's Joker, but
We are totally going off topic here, guys.
Well, I'm just,
Cesar Romero.
well, what I'm trying to
What
I'm trying to say is that Heath Ledger's Joker as a character. I think. I mean, you do have to have a certain amount of suspension of disbelief to believe he could pull off such a completely insane scheme for no reason at all. But I think there's a certain depth there that people look at it and they're like, they just want to watch the whole movie because they're like, what is wrong with this guy?
Yeah, no, he's definitely
they
portrayed
hope
as
it's
sort of like
explained
an
by the end
anarchist
that
who probably
it
has
is
post-traumatic
so
stress
nuts.
disorder, and that makes him an interesting character.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. We could have a whole topic on that. So
Yeah.
let's move on to
Number
two.
two, a surprise entry on the list for me anyway, Sin City.
It's my favorite. It's my number one.
And I think, and here's why I think it's on the list and why so many people picked it. It and 300 and Watchmen sort of have this sort of thing in common where the comic books were essentially used as storyboards for the films. And in terms of making an adaptation, when you make it exactly like what everybody read.
Sin City was the first hard R, was it not?
Yeah, it was. But my only position on that, other than that, is with the comic book and the film, it's sort of like it's so like overly violent and gory and sexualized and everything else like that. It's like if you're old enough to watch it, you're too old to think it's cool. In a sense, but that's not mine. I stole that from somebody else. But
I see your point, but I thought the actors, save Jessica Alba, were perfect. The way they acted because they acted like it was a comic movie.
no, Jessica Alba is perfect.
in every way, shape, and form.
Except her acting ability. Sorry, you've
can
got a
act.
film
She's an
nerd
actress?
here.
I think the point.
that she acts?
I think the point here is that her acting skills are irrelevant for the purpose
Yes,
that she's
agreed.
being put to.
Agreed.
Yes.
But like Brittany Murphy, whose acting ability I'm not a big fan of, I thought she was perfect in that role as well. And I'm disappointed that she's not going to be in the second one.
Wow.
She's kind of.
Yeah, I know why. Although I heard that she did do quite a bit of shooting for it, before she passed. But regardless, I thought it was great because it was gritty. It was based on a graphic novel. That was never a comic book.
Well, it counts though.
It does. It absolutely
it
does.
does,
Because comic books
Same
and graphic novels are
Essentially the same thing.
essentially
Sequential
the
art, same thing.
But graphic novels tend to be geared more toward the adult crowd, the R-rated stuff, as opposed to the comic books that really weren't. So that's what I really liked about that. I loved the styling. Quentin Tarantino directed the part in the car with Benicio del Toro, which was amazing. I thought it was a comic. It was just a moving comic. That's what it was, and I loved it. And I thought that's why it should be number one. That's why it's my number one.
Well, and I agree with it in that sense.
Yes.
I just feel like, in terms of like what most fans want to see is more of a straight up, more fun kind of a film, which is why it surprised me it made it on the list. But again,
so that means, because I do know what number one is, and we'll get to that in a second, but it's not Watchmen, and that means that wasn't on the top 5. Which I'm very surprised about, and I do need to say something, but we'll go to number one first.
well,
How
okay,
about that?
Watchmen was like number 6, but
Yeah.
but we've got another issue there too. But anyway, number 1 on the list, I think this is going to surprise no one, is the Avengers.
The Avengers.
And the reason why
So many
You're one of
superheroes.
those people.
I'm one of those people.
it's again no.
I'm a film
Why don't you
nerd.
like fun?
I'm a film nerd first, and while I enjoy comic books and I enjoy movies based on comic books, I look at the film as a film and not as the comic book.
You just hate fun.
That doesn't really explain why you don't like it.
It's not that I don't like it. I just don't think it should be number 1. Again, Sin City is my number 1.
Yeah.
Watchmen was in my number 5.
Yeah. Watchmen was on a lot of people's lists, though. So don't.
I'm getting it. It's called pretension. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud?
I think Avengers is on the list primarily because they did something nobody ever thought was possible.
And have so many superheroes on the screen
this idea that you could do 4 separate characters in a shared universe with their own movies and have it culminate in a team up was thought to be impossible. There was no way to make that consistently profitable.
Yes.
And there was no way to expect that could happen. And that it happened at all, I think, is what got some people excited about it. Otherwise, it's a really fun movie.
It's a very fun movie.
That does not get bogged down in too much.
Right. It's Joss
navel
Whedon,
gazing.
so we can't complain about that either, because it's Joss Whedon, and he's
Again,
God.
I guess, and that's
he's like 1/3 of the time right.
One interesting thing I've heard.
I'm saying, he's really hit or miss with me. Like some things I go, that is so super awesome. Oh my God, he's God. And then
all right, Dollhouse.
Then I'll see something else and go, oh, okay.
the only reason we love Firefly so much is because it didn't last long enough to disappoint us.
I haven't heard that 1,000 times.
Yeah, I disagree, but okay, fair enough.
Our viewer hasn't.
That's true.
Well,
That needs to be a whole other episode too.
Well,
we could do a
exactly, yeah.
Joss Whedon episode for an hour.
Well, one
I
interesting.
was not a fan of Buffy, so.
One interesting thing the Marvel
Yeah,
Universe is doing that I've seen pointed out is, in a way, it's almost a return to the old Saturday afternoon serials from way before all of our times.
Right.
Yep.
So it's like you get a movie like Days of Future Past. My understanding on the reviews on that one is, but as a bridge between chapters, it was actually pretty good.
Most of the people I know who saw it went pretty nuts over it.
Days of Future Past?
I haven't seen it yet, but
Me neither.
because I'm totally worn out on X-Men.
I hate Bryan Singer.
I have. Bryan Singer is only good at directing X-Men movies.
No, he's only good at directing one X-Men movie, and that was the first one. Although I haven't
Well,
seen
no,
this one, I've heard
two-
good things.
two was
I didn't like it.
reasonably. I didn't like 2 that much either, but
There
we're
were
in the minority.
parts.
We're in the minority
I
on
know.
that one.
But
And I guess he
Like you put Iceman in your movie and he does an ice up or ice slide. Like what the?
But yeah, I mean, I think
Seriously? No ice? Come on.
I think getting back to the idea of the old serials is an interesting experiment, and I think it's working for Marvel at least.
Oh, yeah, Marvel.
well, obviously it is, and you're
the
absolutely right.
Billions of
That's-
dollars is clear to that, but
And,
Like
and I guess that is why people love Avengers so much, is because it's like taking those serials
Right,
and
right.
making
And
it.
well, and part of it is too is like being so like I am a fan of the more fun kind of approach. Like I don't really like
Well,
The Dark Knight because I'm not really a fan of film noir. I mean,
Okay,
which is as a film student, I understand that's going to piss you off when I
Yes.
say that.
No, it doesn't piss me off because
okay,
I
you're a film-
understand it.
Lighthearted
actually.
fun.
All right, you're a film student.
Yes.
So I'm gonna say something that will make you have a conniption.
Oh.
Popeye is Robert Altman's best movie.
You're entitled to your own opinion.
He's about to come across this table. I can see him twitching. He wants to come across the table and just beat you to death with your own arm.
I didn't hate Popeye as much as most film nerds. Here's where I got practically lynched in film school.
I'm just trolling you.
But Boondock Saints isn't as good as you think it is.
I can see that.
I like it, but
I
it's not
it.
like my favorite movie.
I enjoy it.
I don't know.
And I know this is going to go off topic, but the dialogue is terrible. The acting is god awful. The only thing that's good
know
about the
about
Boondock Saints is the actors in it, and the fact that there's a lot of action.
Wow.
That's it. It's entertaining. I love it. I love the movie, but it's not as good as everyone makes it seem. Anyway, back to the
Okay,
comic
back
books.
to the
I know.
list.
I have.
We're running long.
We
so
are.
Yeah. Going over.
That's all right. The only one who's upset about that is Jamie in the booth.
We don't care about his opinion unless he's sitting at the table.
Everybody knows
Number
that.
5 on the worst list.
Oh, we're going worst. All right.
Batman Returns.
Has no business being in the top 5 of the worst list. It's
Okay.
not a
All right.
chance.
All right. All right.
No.
Okay.
Listen,
All right.
okay. You know what? I'm going to let you guys go first.
No. I have a bicycle chain. I swear to God. All right? This is the last film student I'm going to have this argument with. It's goddamn Batman. Okay?
Okay.
Not Edward Flipperhands. Okay? I don't care how successful that first movie is. I don't care how much you liked what Tim Burton did with that first movie. And we all liked that first movie, okay? They gave him too much creative control, and he gave us a creepy as fuck penguin that nobody wanted to see. This is Batman, okay? Nobody wanted to see Danny DeVito in a soiled onesie with black snot pouring down his face.
I wanted to see a guy with a monocle.
I don't care how much you like. I don't care how much you like Tim Burton. I don't care how much all of those weird ass imagery and crap that he puts in his movies is. I don't care how good you think Edward Scissorhands is, because it isn't.
Oh, I don't think it's as good as people think it is.
Batman Returns was a betrayal to everybody who watched that first movie. Because that first movie really no. The '89 Batman, say what you want about it, but it struck a chord with audiences.
It did.
And it was good with critics. And then
Jack Nicholson as Jack Nicholson in makeup.
Exactly.
Jack Nicholson was fantastic as the Joker.
But
I don't care what you say.
It was fun. We all enjoyed it.
It was fun.
It was a good take on the character.
And it was great because they did make Batman dark.
But you don't.
I like that.
Yeah, it is. But you don't go to a Batman movie for Batman. You go to a Batman movie for the villain. Okay? And no. Nobody, if you wanted to do like a crazy guy with deformities and sewer mutant henchmen, you do Two-Face.
Agreed.
Okay?
Agreed. I'm not disagreeing with you about how bad they did Penguin. But
The whole point of the movie, though, is we're
Catwoman was awesome.
Michelle Pfeiffer is Michelle Pfeiffer. Hello.
Again, I'm not crazy about the whole stitched-up corpse aesthetic thing that Tim Burton always does with his characters. Out costume, but she was delightful in the role.
Yes, she was great in the role. You have to say she was great. Christopher Walken was awesome.
Christopher Walken is
because he's awesome.
But
agreed.
But
okay,
Penguin was creepy and jarring and took us all out of the film.
Okay.
And you couldn't bring kids to it.
Yes.
Funny.
Joker was creepy.
I'm not against not bringing kids to these darker movies anyway.
Well, no.
But if you're going to have a dark movie and you're going to have Penguin, which you can't do, and Nolan said that. He said, I'll never have Penguin because he's not a character that you can take seriously. Because it's true. You can't take the character seriously.
Right.
Tim Burton tried to make Penguin a serious character and a serious villain. He failed, but I didn't hate the character except that it was trying to be the Penguin.
No.
If he had tried to make that a different character, I would have been okay. Now, I'll preface.
It would have worked with Two-Face.
I will post that with, I enjoy the Mario Brothers movie. Not because it's based on Mario Brothers, but because the movie is awesome. If it wasn't Mario Brothers.
I mean, I guess I don't.
I felt much the same about Blues Brothers 2000.
That's kind of like me with
all
the original
have-
Dungeons and Dragons movie.
We all have.
It's a bad movie, but
We all have
it
a
wasn't
guilty
as bad
pleasure.
as we thought.
I'm sorry, but I love Waterworld.
So do I.
I'm not
Yes!
afraid to say.
Hey,
it.
there's another guy who likes
Finally
Waterworld.
somebody else.
You know, it's terrible.
The acting
but
is
it's
bad,
just,
but the concept
but
is
it's
great.
just conceptually fun and interesting to watch.
Yes.
And
Now that we're going off topic again, though, I'm going back.
All right, go back.
So, you can't fault an entire movie
Yes, you can.
based on hands.
No, it was the whole way the Penguin was
The
presented.
whole Penguin thing.
okay,
It was a
no.
dark Penguin.
It was too Tim Burton-y.
Yes.
Yes.
He didn't make a sequel to Batman. He made a sequel to Edward Scissorhands.
Fine. I'll give you that. But it still doesn't deserve to be on the top 5 of the worst comic
No, a
book
lot of us
movies.
felt pretty betrayed by that movie.
Worse than Batman and Robin? Is that on our
that's
list?
like its spiritual
no.
successor.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
All I know is
I don't remember if that was higher.
College Humor did a parody series with Pete Holmes called Bad Man. And when they did a cameo with the Penguin, they had Patton Oswalt on, and that worked.
All right, number 4 on the list. This, I don't think, surprises anyone, is The Spirit,
Yeah, I hated that movie.
which I could
what is
not
it?
get 10 minutes into. It's another adaptation of a Frank Miller
Oh.
comic that was sort of like he and Was it Robert Rodriguez? Was he a part
I
of
don't
that?
think that was Rodriguez.
No. He and
But
somebody else.
They tried to do Sin City.
What they were trying to do.
failed.
What they were trying to do was capture the success of Sin City again,
Okay.
in essence. But I think it was PG-13, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. They
I mean,
tried to make it more family friendly.
Yeah, it was like a family. It was sort of like taking that concept and making. Well, the point is that they failed.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's an ultimately. It's well, anybody who sat all the way through it,
I did.
really despises it. I got 10 minutes in and switched it off.
Okay. I never heard of it, so I have no idea.
No. It's really. I think the problem. See, I use a weighted average when I do these lists. So like, if like 3 people who contribute really hated something,
It can make the list that way.
It can really get on the list that way.
Now
So
we know why
so-
Batman Returns got there.
Corruption.
Well,
The fix was
again, no.
No, I'm saying I agree with you.
Yeah, no, I don't even think that was my number 1 bad, but well, it might have been. No,
I think that was like my number 2 bad. I don't remember what.
no, I think
All
my
right,
number 1 was
we
Catwoman.
need to
Not
keep
important.
going because I need to make sure that there are still worse movies than that.
We're getting there.
they're coming, don't
Are you
worry.
ready?
And I know there's 2 ties. So
There's 2 ties on this, and number
Yes.
3 is a tie
It is.
between Green Lantern and Catwoman. And I think I know why they're both in the same position, because both of those are an exercise in how not to adapt a superhero movie.
Because they didn't.
I didn't hate Green Lantern.
Well,
I didn't like it, but I didn't hate it.
the problem is that they didn't adapt Green Lantern. They just adapted Joseph Campbell's Hero with a Thousand Faces again.
Okay.
And they just went through, Star Wars and The Matrix, that whole hero's journey thing.
Yeah.
They went through the motions of the hero's journey, except with Green Lantern. And then they took some of the really more interesting parts of the mythos and fooled around with a little bit that really pissed off the fans. Like their version of Parallax was really stupid.
Okay.
Green Lantern.
When the best thing about the movie is Blake Lively,
Yeah.
that says a lot about your movie.
Green Lantern was one of those movies that's like, you hear about it, and then you hear about it again. You're like, wait, that's out?
It was a lot of hype.
I guess
a lot
I'll
of people
go see
were
it in the
really
theater.
excited.
Oh, it's already out of
Yeah.
theaters?
They sunk so much money into that, and it was sort of like, I think they thought, okay, let's just apply the generic formula. It's just that,
Yeah.
I mean, and there were a couple of funny gags. But
I didn't even hate Ryan Reynolds.
no, I don't think
did okay.
I don't think he was
I don't think it
totally
was his fault.
miscast. It was the movie wasn't his fault.
It was not his fault. And a lot of people blame him for it, just like they do Deadpool, which we can have another discussion about if you'd like.
No, again, Ryan Reynolds was the perfect cast for Deadpool.
Agreed.
They just did Deadpool poorly.
Well, let's see what happens with the Deadpool movie.
Well, assuming it gets greenlit, which
Yes.
it hasn't yet.
But yes, I agree. And if they make a sequel, which I doubt they will, to Green Lantern, I mean,
No, we're looking at another reboot eventually.
I would watch it because I believe that as bad as the first one was, it is solely an origin story. So we can see, here's Green Lantern, here's how he becomes Green Lantern, and look what he can kind of do with being a Green
Right.
Lantern.
It
He's
was
not
just-
getting
it was
stuffed
just-
into
it was
Justice
just-
League
no.
like everybody else?
Not yet. Well, no, he'll probably be in Justice League, but he's not going to be in Dawn of Justice.
I mean, that's right.
Right.
This is a whole nother show.
Yes.
Zack
just, like,
Snyder's
stuffing people
cinematic
in.
turducken.
Zack Snyder, the worst thing to ever happen.
Oh
in
my God, they're
cinema.
doing it backwards.
Exactly.
Zack Snyder's one of those directors who seems to think that he's a comic
Catwoman?
artist.
Catwoman, another situation where, like, okay, good casting choice.
You're right. I did not hate Halle Berry as Catwoman.
No, definitely thought, okay, this could work. But here's the problem with Catwoman. They keep overthinking her.
Well,
Like Batman Returns, she falls out of a window and becomes Catwoman because cats.
right.
The Dark Knight Rises socio-political activist Selena Kyle.
Yeah. She's a cat burglar.
I was gonna say, she's supposed to be a burglar.
No, Catwoman is, supposed to be kind of selfish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not like. I don't
Well,
know,
and she's-
it's just-
she's
and
almost
then-
an anti-hero.
And then she's
Yeah.
and then she's magic in the movie, and it just.
Well, and she was a hero. She was
Yeah.
purely good in the movie, which she is not.
No, and that was the whole point. It's like she's an interesting character.
Oh, it's so interesting.
and
And they
they
made
really-
her one-dimensional.
Yeah,
entirely,
and it was just,
so.
it was just
Who
awful.
played
And
it?
Of course, DC.
Newmar, right? Julie Newmar? Is that who did it?
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, well, we all remember
She
that.
was
Yeah.
amazing.
And Eartha Kitt. There
Right.
She was
Right.
later.
I think we can agree that we all loved the '60s Batman show as kids.
God, I love that show.
And then like,
For everything.
Insert
casting
visual
was
sound
so
effects
good.
here.
exactly, yeah, no, it just.
Anyway,
But moving on.
number 2 tie.
Number 2, we have another tie, and these movies are actually syncretic, and I totally get why they tied. Batman and Robin, and Superman 4.
Okay.
They're both part 4s in a series that was steadily declining.
Yep.
And they finally got around to it, and like they just botched it completely.
Yes.
Superman 4, of course, because it kind of changed hands. It was a whole new group
Yeah.
that was sort of.
I
going
don't even
through it.
remember seeing that movie from beginning to
Well,
end.
and it was
honestly.
super low budget. They didn't really
Yeah.
try very hard. Christopher Reeve was on a personal crusade to use it as his anti-nuclear
war
weapons platform.
Yeah.
They kept reusing the same shots over and over again.
Well,
they
for
could have
that,
done any villain. It could have been Bizarro, anything. They just made up a brand new super to just put in the movie. And I mean,
Man.
it just. I mean, that killed superhero movies for like 4 years.
Yeah, it was-
You know, and so did Batman and Robin.
Yes, it is.
You know, I mean, it
Which one is Batman and Robin?
Batman and Robin was the last one in the original series in the '90s with Mr. Freeze, with Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze and Clooney and
The
admitted-
only good
and-
thing about that movie, besides when the credits rolled and you realized it was finally over,
I almost walked out. I almost walked out of that movie.
it was Uma Thurman's Poison Ivy. Actually, I thought she was decent, and I didn't hate Bane. He wasn't.
Well, yeah, I mean, the problem with Bane is, I mean, he's, you know.
But they made him such a minor character, and that
yeah, I
bothered
don't know.
me.
It just,
But
I mean, Bane's not an interesting character, and both film versions have been in-name only versions of a third-string character that nobody cares about.
Yeah, Bane.
Yeah.
I mean, Bane is theoretically an interesting character, but you know,
He does
If
actually
they
break
portrayed him,
Batman's back.
if they portrayed him in any of those films the way he was portrayed in the comic or the '90s cartoon series, he'd be an interesting character.
yeah,
You know, because he's supposed to be a genius. You know.
right. Which they tried in Dark Knight.
Yeah,
Rises,
but again, he was basically Ubo. Who's Talia al Ghul's body?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, I don't.
Ubo, I don't know. He wasn't really Bane. You know.
Right.
I mean, why didn't he do the Riddler?
I know.
Seriously.
Why wasn't Joseph Gordon-Levitt the Riddler?
Why we all wanted to see Riddler, right? Can we
Agreed.
all agree on this?
Yeah.
It should have been the Riddler.
I like the Riddler.
let's put it this
That
way.
would be the perfect Christopher Nolan villain.
Yes.
Someone did a bunch of fan art,
I like Jim Carrey as the Riddler.
and
I thought that was really good.
the only two I remember
Not a great
seeing
movie, but he like stood out
had
in that role.
Kristen Bell as Harley Quinn and David Tennant as the Riddler. David Tennant as the Riddler would have been perfect.
I don't know.
It might be hard for
As a
most
Brit or
nerds
as an American?
to divorce themselves from him being Doctor Who.
That's
I don't-
hard to say.
Because I don't know. I mean, he's Scottish. He's not even English like he was in Doctor Who. But I don't know that I could see. I guess I could kind of see the Riddler as British. But you know who I saw as British? The Scarecrow. And they got a British actor to play the Scarecrow as an American.
Yeah, but I think the assumption is most of his rogues gallery are Americans anyway.
Well, not Ra's al
Unless-
Ghul.
Not Ra's al Ghul. Again, you know, there's an example of a character that
There were a
Really
few
came out
that
of
they
nowhere.
kind of portrayed as British, and
Yeah.
I could see the Scarecrow as going British. And when I heard Cillian Murphy was playing it, I said, "This is
Well,
perfect."
I mean,
and he's
but
British.
you
and this is
have to
great.
understand though. It's sort of like if they take a character who isn't American and give him a British accent, then the internet will explode with fan rage.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's sort of like, oh my God, they cast a black actor as Heimdall.
Yeah.
Okay,
But back to Batman and Robin.
Idris
and
Elba,
Bane,
who cares?
I just. Yeah, I guess he was supposed to be a genius, but I didn't hate it. I hated that he was like Poison Ivy's little bodyguard person there. That was dumb.
It's the
But
same problem.
I did think she was decent, and I didn't hate Chris O'Donnell as Robin because he was also Robin in Batman Forever.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we are talking about a movie that essentially ruined the careers of
Yeah.
Chris O'Donnell and Alicia Silverstone and
But see, when I talk about the
Joel
worst
Schumacher.
Batman movie, I say Batman Returns because I don't consider Batman and Robin a Batman movie, despite the name being in the title. I just can't even consider it.
it was just weird. Like, why were these giant, like, skyscraper-sized statues
Why that movie?
Why?
And I think we should all apologize, bashing on Batman and Robin, for all the people who are going to have trouble watching NCIS LA for a few weeks.
Yeah, I was going to say, because he's on that show.
Yeah. Number one.
Well, number one. This was the dark horse. I did not expect this. I mean, I really expected Batman and Robin to be number one. Like we all expected Batman and Robin to be number one, until Batman and Robin, or rather, let me put it this way: Star Trek V used to be the standard by which all badness was measured, and then Batman and Robin came out.
I don't know. I still think I hated Star Trek V more.
Now go back and watch it again. It's got some redeeming qualities.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a Star Trek movie. You can't even call Batman and Robin a Batman movie.
I mean, when you consider that like Shatner was directing it, you get like it more. I don't know. We've ranted about this before on the show, though. In fact, our very first episode. So I'll skip that. Number one on the list: Ang Lee's Hulk. This is another one of these entries that the weighted average played in favor of it because it made number one for about 3 different people.
Yeah, I don't remember if I put that as number one or if I did have Batman and Robin as number one, but they were 1 and 2.
Yeah.
There's nothing to say about that movie except that it is terrible.
One of my biggest problems with it is and it was totally a director's kind of presentation of it, was all the comic booky cuts. They do a thing and it's like a frame,
Which actually was, I think that was the only redeeming quality of the whole.
Let's examine this for a second. Ang Lee was not a fan of the comics, was not a comic book reader.
Yeah.
Was a fan of the 70s TV series, which I think we all liked the 70s TV shows, and the subsequent films were all kind of fun in a certain way. I mean, that was the first live-action version of Thor and Daredevil.
That's sweet.
True, but let's.
I don't remember that.
Oh yeah, they did three made-for-TV movies.
I guess I need to
and
watch
one had
those.
Thor and one had Daredevil.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I must have missed those movies.
Oh, you definitely need to go back and watch. And then the third one was the death of the Incredible Hulk, of course, so that they had to stop making them.
Right.
So that was, but
Thor, and that's funny because he's not from Asgard. It's like a guy who transforms into Thor using the hammer.
No, he summons Thor. A guy finds.
Oh, that's right. He summons
Thor with the hammer.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's got some, and that's got some. That's actually got some
comics, is it not?
Yeah, no, it was actually pretty cool. Like, he had some great lines in there, like you're a mighty warrior when the troll is upon you. It's like, it was sort of, Definitely go back and check those out. Definitely go back and check those out.
Yes, all of you, or
all of
you
out there.
guy,
check out the 70s Hulk series and the movies. They are, in a sense, like the Batman TV series, kind of campy, in a sense, but
well, look at Lou Ferrigno's makeup. That just that has to be camp.
Well, that's how it would have been done.
What has Lou Ferrigno done?
That brings me back.
That brings us the Hulk.
Let's bring us back to Hulk. Let's bring us back to the Hulk film. I mean, when we all watched that movie, we said, you know what? They just should have put a wrestler in grease paint again because, and at the time, those were some really great special effects.
Right.
But it just still looked puffy and fake.
Yeah, it didn't work.
Now I know. Again, I'm DC raised when it comes to comics. The Hulk was never that big, was he? Wasn't he massive in Hulk? Where
in
Hulk
he
was just there's a helicopter.
Did this thing? They made this decision to basically change his size based on how angry he got.
Right. Okay, that's true. Yeah.
Which is basically ripping off Impact from Image Comics, which is I'm thinking of somebody else. Anyway,
I thought they did that in the comics, though.
They didn't know. No, they've done everything in the comics. I mean, there's been different colored Hulks, been Red Hulks and Gray Hulks, and
Mr. Joe Fixit.
I thought it was Mr. Fixit. I don't remember.
Well, you went by Mr. Fixit or Joe Fixit.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Wolverine comics has him in it, and it's great because Wolverine packs his hotel room with purple pants.
Oh yeah, purple. Yeah, I remember that.
I think this should be called ADD TV, not OCDTV.
No. Well, it tends to ramble. It's fine. It's
Squirrel?
Because we've got
Squirrel.
But getting back to Ang Lee decided to take an experimental approach to make his comic book movie look like a live-action version of a comic book, which I kind of commend him taking a risk.
I commend him for trying.
In that sense, yeah, I know, he hated it. But okay, here's the problem, and I think we all sort of like the Incredible Hulk. I mean, it wasn't great. It was basically the passable Hulk.
Yeah.
You know,
I loved Edward Norton.
Yeah, I liked him in the role. I like Edward Norton anyway, but although
the acceptable Hulk.
You know, but
Mark Ruffalo has been an acceptable fill-in.
Yes.
I like Mark Ruffalo.
I didn't like it initially, but when I saw Avengers, I did say.
Well, sometimes they sold it better.
Well, sometimes what you look at is, and I do this with Batman too occasionally, is the guy playing Batman and the guy playing Bruce Wayne, or the guy playing Bruce Banner and obviously the Hulk.
Okay, so I can talk to you on that
about
Batman and the voice. I didn't actually finish my point on that. The voice was necessary because in every other incarnation of Batman, the voice is exactly the same as Bruce Wayne. No one's going to recognize the voice. He needs to disguise his voice. Now, was it the best choice of a disguise of a voice? No. But it was a necessity to disguise the voice.
I don't mind disguising the voice. The voice itself was like nails on a chalkboard to me.
Yes, but Christian Bale as a whole is the best whole Bruce Wayne and Batman.
Yeah, I guess. I mean.
Save Adam West.
Yeah, well,
that was a different kind of role. That's a different kind of role. I mean, essentially, all you need to be to play Batman is a white guy with a strong chin.
So you think Ben Affleck's going to do all right?
I think I'm not. I am.
See, I'm not as concerned as most people about that.
I'm not.
The more I'm seeing, the less I'm concerned. Except that it's a Zack Snyder film. If Ben Affleck were directing, I'd say, this might actually work. But Zack Snyder, I don't trust him.
I'm not. I don't. Again, they're packing so much into it.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And Aquaman.
Aquaman could be a great movie if you played off
that
the
guy.
jokes. No.
I'm drawing a blank on the name
Jason
right now.
Momoa.
Thank you.
He can't catch a break. He just.
I don't think that he's gonna do
good cast for Conan. Good cast for Conan.
Yes.
Too bad that movie was terrible.
Wait, did that movie get released?
Jason Momoa,
There was another Conan movie. We missed it.
I heard that it was coming. I just never saw it arrive.
Oh man!
And that brings up the second time we've mentioned a movie nobody noticed getting released.
Yeah, no, it was a pile of garbage.
I'm serious. And I know that there were 2 Hercules movies being released near the time, but the only one I'm aware of hitting theaters is the Rock one.
Right.
And yet the other one is supposed to be better.
It happened and left.
Yeah, no. Again, it's well, okay.
So
Hercules, no, Hercules. All I need. I saw the trailer and I was like, oh, who directed this? They didn't put the director up there. Oh, it's Brett Ratner. Never mind.
Okay, but now I do need to go back to the topic at hand. Now that we have heard our list, Batman Returns.
Are we done bitching about Hulk? Because I still think we get.
Go ahead.
I don't think you need to, because it's nothing
Hulk
anyone
dogs?
hasn't
we
heard
covered
already.
that.
Oh, we covered the Hulk dogs?
We covered the Hulk dogs on the worst monsters.
Oh, yes, they were in the worst monster show, yeah.
Everyone
Maybe
hates
maybe it
Everyone
deserves
hates
to be number one. We keep going back to this show after show.
Hulk?
Yeah.
Of course it
Hulk
deserves to be number one.
Yeah.
Everyone hated the movie. Ang Lee hated the movie. But Batman Returns. I need to go back to why it shouldn't be in the top 5. I'll even give you the top 10 as being worst.
Well, we do have honorable
Dolph Lundgren's Punisher. Awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah.
A History of
that was
Violence.
Well, again, I don't think not enough people saw A History of Violence.
I watched it. What was the other one? Wait, that was the Russian one, right?
No, you're
What was
thinking
the Russian
you're thinking
one?
of Eastern Promises.
That's also comic based, isn't it?
I don't remember.
One of the ones I was disappointed was not on the best is Red. I thought that was very well adapted.
It's a good movie,
But-
I don't think people see it as like
Maybe not top
traditional-
five,
I mean, I did have some very loose outlines. Like I said, okay, we can't
Yeah.
like no, you couldn't do Transformers or GI Joe because the toy line, the cartoon, and the comics all launched in the same year.
After.
I mean, it was technically the comics.
Right, because I would have put Transformers right up.
No. In both cases, the comics launched like a couple of months before the show came out, because the comics came out in the summertime when the kids had money to spend, and like the toys were. But the point is that that was just a media tie-in.
Right, it's not known for the comic.
Even though the Transformers comic was just some whacked-out cosmic Jack Kirby awesomeness.
It was pretty awesome.
So I'm surprised Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 isn't on the list. That was based on a very popular comic book, if I'm not mistaken.
Again, well, no, some of these kind of showed up. TMNT, the first one, the 1990 version
that was
movie,
great.
that actually made it on a couple of people's best lists.
Because it was true to the comic. Because it had,
and yet
oh God, my brain's
didn't
not
alienate,
working.
and yet didn't alienate a youth market.
Right.
Like they managed to come up to the challenge of how do we adapt the comic, but do it in a way that, because it was hyper violent.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was also written as a self-aware genre parody.
Okay.
Yeah, no, they originally conceived it of making fun of the Frank Miller and Alan Moore stuff that was coming out in the early '80s with that super serious sort of like.
Yeah. From hell.
Like, oh my God, comics are going to be dark and brooding now.
Yeah.
And so they decided to make Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to sort of rip on, like, the X-Men and like Teen Titans were really popular at the time.
Okay.
And then they made them ninjas and turtles, and then they just made it super, super dark to satire the super dark comics that were coming out in the early 80s.
Now, of course, I grew up on the original cartoon.
Yes, we all
series.
did. None of us. I was not. Jamie in the booth was a reader of the comic before the show came out.
Wow.
And would be the one guy to like complain about the show. But we all grew up on that show.
But the movie brought in the mask guy, whose name I'm forgetting at the moment as well, because my brain's
Casey
not
Jones?
working. Thank you, Casey Jones.
And
that was a comic.
He was in the cartoon.
He was in the comic. Yeah.
He was real late in the cartoons, though. I thought he came in after the movie was made.
No, first season.
He was in the first season?
Wore a hockey mask, yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I was just disappointed Bebop and Rocksteady never.
Everybody was disappointed Bebop and Rocksteady
and
should.
Rocksteady.
Or in part 2, when it's like all these characters they could have brought in, and they brought in 2 completely new characters that nobody cares about. It's like,
yeah, the only live action version of a bad guy from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is Krang. They can never do Krang.
it's terrible. Don't do Krang. Don't do Krang.
Yeah.
Do Baxter Stockman. He's cool.
The closest thing I can think of to Krang was a TV movie adaptation of A Wrinkle in Time, where they were on Camazotz and they had to show
I saw that.
it.
Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah.
They decided not to even
saw
bother
that, too.
trying to show it except in a couple shots, and instead put Kyle Secor from Homicide: Life on the Street as the kind of personification.
Yeah. It was okay.
So what do we get for honorable mentions?
Oh, yeah, the honorable mentions list, I think, well, for the best list, Captain America gets the honorable mention. No. Now listen, no, because no, not Captain America. Both Captain America. This is how I scored this. Captain America and Captain America: The Winter Soldier split the Captain America vote. One of those movies would have been in the top 5 if one person had switched their position on it. So Captain America as the character, both of the Captain America films make the honorable mentions list because enough people liked both of those movies that they were on most people's top 5, just not as either one.
Of the original 4 Marvel Avenger, the new Marvel.
Captain America: The First Avenger is the best one.
Worst.
You are objectively wrong.
Yeah, just totally
Worst.
wrong. I don't know if it's the best, but it was certainly good.
Iron Man was the best of that. I mean, it actually made the top 5, so it had to have been the best. I enjoyed Thor. I really did.
I like Thor a lot, yeah.
I like Thor. It was just,
but then there's the Incredible Hulk. So, I mean,
well, I don't know if the Incredible Hulk counts.
No, no, it does count.
Does it?
No, it's in continuity with the series.
Yes.
No.
It's just
Tony Stark shows up at the end of that movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, which I think was supposed
to be. It was just
what,
Thailand or wherever he was, which is really hard on him.
It was supposed to be. I think that was supposed to be. That was supposed to be a post-credit scene. That was supposed to be a post-credit scene, but they put it before the credits because they wanted to put Robert Downey Jr. in the trailers because Iron Man was such a hit. Yeah. So, no, I don't. I mean, no. Okay, Incredible Hulk was.
Okay, I could see your argument.
I like it, but it's not as good as
putting Captain America above there. But above
Thor. Okay, yeah, but Thor was pretty generic. I like the movie.
It was, but so was
not,
Captain America. It was totally.
They did.
It was.
No, they did it exactly how they should have done it, which was not get political with it, because that would have alienated whoever it politically sided with.
You can't not get political with it because it's a World War II movie.
No, I understand that. That's the whole
That's
point.
easy.
That's easy.
Everyone can get behind.
Yes, everyone.
Nazis are bad.
And
that's how, and that's also why the second movie works, because he's still fighting Hydra. You know, see again. So he's still fighting Nazis. That's how you don't get involved with politics with the Captain America movie. You have him continue to fight Nazis.
They are an ongoing problem.
I guess I still put Chris. Help me out here.
Chris Evans.
Thank you. I still picture him as Fantastic Four.
Well, he was like the one redeeming quality of that.
Oh, see, I thought Michael Chiklis was, but
well,
I like Michael Chiklis a lot too.
well, see, that's where they did it better than Hulk, where they just put a guy in a rubber suit, and that worked better than, you know, puffy CGI that needed a few years to get cleaned up a little bit. Although they should have just got Weta Workshop for that.
I don't know. I don't know what it was, but there was something I didn't like about the first Captain America.
Well, here's the thing with Captain America. I'm a fan of the character Captain America to begin with, so the movie really
maybe it's
resonates.
because I'm not.
Right, so I'm like, oh, it's Captain America. He's awesome.
You know, I preferred Thor.
I like Thor. I like Thor a lot too, though.
I named my first beta fish Thor.
So there was a split. The actual number 6 slot was Watchmen.
Okay,
so
that's good, because the reason I liked Watchmen was because until the end, it was so true to the comics.
I actually
like Sin City.
I actually like Snyder's ending better than the ending in the comic book, because it's more syncretic.
I know. I've
with
been
the tone of the film.
Agreed. Agreed. Well, even Alan Moore said, you cannot ever do this ending in a movie.
No, it would be silly.
No, he said Watchmen could never be made into a movie, and Zack Snyder, of all people, did prove him wrong.
He did.
But it
doesn't matter, because Alan Moore disavows anything.
He does. I enjoyed V for Vendetta. I'm surprised that wasn't higher on there. I know people hated it.
It's an uneven film. It's a really uneven film.
And I don't even think about a comic book when I think of it.
Plus, it's sort of like the Wachowski brothers' thinly veiled attempt to take a stab at the Bush administration.
It's not the brothers anymore.
The Wachowskis. Hey, whatever. Let's not get into that. My point being that if you are going to do a politically charged movie like that, you're going to alienate part of your audience.
Yes. Although I've heard both sides defend the movie.
So what's
not important? Not important. Anyway, so wrapping up.
What's our real quick
worst honorable mention?
Oh, the worst honorable mention is Elektra. Which actually almost
forgot about that.
Almost like nudged Daredevil out. Like those two were sort of competing for the number 6 spot.
Both of which are worse than Batman Returns. And also another one, Superman Returns. How about that one?
No. You see, the problem with Superman Returns is it's not really so much. It's bad. But not in the way that it's like horrible, because like everything up until the plane crash is pretty good, and they kept the original score, but nobody wanted to see Bryan Singer's love letter to Richard Donner, and so it's just kind of boring, and so everybody forgot about it.
I do like Kevin Spacey.
It was expertly cast. It was expertly
Kevin
cast.
Spacey, and he's awesome.
Yeah, he was a better Lex Luthor than
and the whole
Gene
point,
Hackman.
and the whole problem was, if
in my opinion,
if Daredevil was good enough
I do like Gene Hackman.
If Daredevil was good enough to garner a sequel, see what I did there? They should have just done the sequel that the director intended, which was to adapt that really famous Frank Miller storyline that I'm forgetting, where his life gets ruined. Anyway, not important. Elektra was terrible.
Yeah.
We can all agree on that.
Definitely.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We went a little long tonight. Hope you don't mind. And keep being awesome.